year, there is an amazing event that takes place in the Santa Clarita Valley. This year is the 49th annual Premier Volunteer Recognition Event, the SCV Man and Woman of the Year. Now, the winner's chosen by committee. And we have an opportunity to speak to one of the nominees today. I have with me in the studio Amy Daniels, who's here from Wish Education Foundation, who has nominated Ed Masterson for Man of the Year. Hello to both of you.
Hello.
All right, so Amy, tell me a little bit about Wish Education Foundation first.
Well, we are the fundraising organization for the William S. Hart School District, 23,000 kids.
Wow.
So we are a separate and distinct organization, but we raise funding to support programs and initiatives that are not paid for by tax dollars alone. And since 2008, a lot of funding has gone by the wayside. So we're serving a very important niche and what's missing in our schools.
An educational sinkhole, since I just had that in the traffic. So you guys are coming in and taking care of that, because those are big gaps and big important gaps. All right, and with you today, you're part of the committee that nominated Mr. Ed Masterson for this for Man of the Year.
Yes, our foundation chose Ed because he's so fabulous.
Going down, he's being very humble and shaking his head right now. But you have been on a number of organizations, including the Wish Education Foundation. You're one of the founding members, is that correct?
Mm-hmm.
You've been there for a number of years?
That's correct, yep.
Michael Hofflin, SCV Chamber of Commerce. You've been with the Santa Clarita, I always have to say that twice, Run Committee, the Oak Tree Gold Tournament Committee. How long have you been in the Valley?
I came to work here in the community back in 1999. So I came here from the film industry and got started as a sales guy back then. So about 16 years.
And I've always said there's something in the water in Santa Clarita. We're a very charitable community. And once you start to get involved and you realize what an incredible place this is, you start to realize the need, and you're a busy guy.
Well, you know what? I mean, when I first came to work in Santa Clarita, I had never been a sales guy before. So everybody that kind of knew the ropes said, get involved, network, volunteer, that sort of thing. So in Santa Clarita, as you know, there's no shortage of opportunities to volunteer, and we're really lucky out here to have so many nonprofit organizations that kind of help make up the fabric of the community. So it's a good spot to put yourself out there, volunteer, get to know people, that kind of thing.
Now, let me ask, what was it about the Wish Education Foundation that brought you in to be a part of that?
Well, my mom was a teacher. She was a high school math teacher, so I grew up in a family with an educator. So there was always, the school thing was always in my life from a very young age. Excuse me. And when I used to be the field rep for Assemblyman Cameron Smythe for 4 years, my favorite part of that job was being out in the schools, recognizing them for accomplishments, things like that. So education has always been a favorite thing to me, just in general. So when I was asked to be considered for the Wish board back when, I think 4 years ago, I was honored, and of course didn't think I'd get picked, but I was honored that they asked me to be on it. So it was great.
That's very nice. Now, because you grew up in a household with the educator, I could see where that would be a great appeal. But in addition to this, all of the other organizations you're involved in, did you grow up kind of having that charitable bone? Did you feel like, I really want to do this? Was it something you learned about later? Was there a mentor in your life? What was what planted that seed with you?
Those are all really good questions. So my parents were probably a huge influence on me as a kid, even though I didn't realize it at the time. So my mom was, as a teacher, she would also spend tons of her own time tutoring students, meeting them before school, after school, whenever they needed to. So I kind of saw that side of her generosity. And my dad was a very social, generous guy. He was a professional dancer, so he had a dance school where he taught people to dance. But he would always give of his time to help people build their block walls, put in their yards. He was also a landscaper. So my dad was constantly that guy that was always being hit up by everybody to help them out with their projects, and he would always do it. So I picked up, I think, that bug from him a little bit, seeing him just helping people and loaning his tools. And, anytime somebody asked him, he would never say no. He'd always say yes. So
It's a tiresome job where you're always doing something, but it's also incredibly gratifying. In addition to just your day gig and the idea that you're doing all of the additional charitable stuff, do you find yourself at the end of the day going, oh, I'm exhausted, but this felt good? Is there ever a time where you go, oh, I cannot put one more thing on my plate? I don't see that in your resume here. I see that you are always the guy taking on one more thing.
You know why, though? Because to me, that's the only fun part of having a job, really. I mean, not that the jobs I've had haven't been great jobs in and of themselves, because they have been, but to me, it's just sort of fun. I'm kind of a people guy, so I like being with people and brainstorming ideas to do their events and things like that. So even before I worked for an event production company that I do now, SOS Entertainment, I liked being on committees, helping plan events, figure out solutions, and just the camaraderie of Santa Clarita. It's a great community, as you already mentioned, for people to build camaraderie and just that fabric we seem to have out here for helping each other and kind of going to bat for each other when we need help. So that's always been kind of a fun thing more so than a work thing.
Right.
Yeah.
And I've said to anyone who's ever come through here, when you do when you're involved at a level like this, where you're in the charitable organizations, you have the opportunity to be a mentor to other people coming up the ranks and showing them that this is it's a wonderful thing to do. And yes, it is a lot of work. And yes, but the idea that you get to be that person, it makes you one of the pillars of our community. So I'm very grateful. Whatever might happen at the big dinner, which is coming up on May 1st. This is 6 p.m. at the Hyatt Valencia. Again, the SCV Man and Woman of the Year Award. No matter what happens, you serve as an incredible beacon to the community to show what we're made of.
Well, thank you. That's a very kind compliment. Thank you very much.
Now, let me ask you a couple of questions here, Amy. When you were looking for the qualities of who's the person you nominate for Man of the Year, I know that Ed is, again, he's the guy that steps up to the plate, gets the job done. Was there something for you growing up? Was there someone also that was like the mentor, or you thought this is what a pillar of the community looks like? This is what the man or the woman of the year looks like. Did you have those kind of examples in your life?
Back then, women were at-home moms, and there weren't the PTAs. Nobody really did that kind of thing. So it was a wonderful opportunity when my kids got into school to just be a volunteer, and I love it. And I was trained as a teacher, so I started as a teacher way back when. So it's kind of come full circle to me. But, with regard to Ed and Man of the Year, I mean, it wasn't that we were searching for somebody. Ed was right there. He's not just an idea guy. He is the first one to raise his hand. He's always involved in absolutely everything. He will help in any way possible. He's the nicest guy in the Santa Clarita Valley. Every single person knows him because of the time that he gives.
He's shaking his head, he's chuckling, he's turning red.
He is the most humble guy out here. And there isn't a person in the Santa Clarita Valley who doesn't know Ed and doesn't speak so highly of him, because he's such a wonderful guy. And I will tell you, at any of our board meetings, Ed is a pretty quiet guy there, but when he does offer to say something, it's always incredibly impactful. Everything he says is so much appreciated. He's amazing.
Well, Ed, I know it's a little embarrassing to have all these nice things said about you, but I also want to thank you for being that guy in the community who serves as representation and shows other people, how we roll in the Santa Clarita Valley. Mm-hmm. So I wish you the best of luck, no matter what happens. Again, if you'd like to learn more about the SCV Man and Woman of the Year, and you'd like to learn more about the nominees and Ed, you can go over to hometownstation.com and look up that information. Again, thank you both for being here, and looking forward to hearing what happens on May 1st.